Good morning, I'm Brandon Oswald and we're back here on the homestead in the cabin on another beautiful winter day. Today we are going to be working with cow horn. In a very recent episode, we made a comb out of this cow horn, the plastic of the 18th century. But today we're going to try something a little different. We are going to make a horn spoon, one of the most common household eating utensils of the time period. In the comb episode, we used just a pure open flame to heat the horn, one of the two main heating methods. The other method is using hot oil. There's a common misconception, and I even did this myself when I was younger, of using water. Now, the problem is water only gets to 212 degrees. That's not hot enough. Horn has to be 300 to 350 degrees, and that's why we're using oil today. If you have a good relationship with your wife, spouse, or you're single, you use your oven at home. That'll work just as well. While the comb was very labor intensive, once we got it flat, then we had to cut each tooth and each tine and scrape it and make it smooth, so there's a lot of handwork into it. The spoon, however, once we flatten it and get the basic shape cut out of the spoon, we'll heat it up and put it in this mold, and then we've cast the spoon. Then we just have to finish it. If you were a horner at the time, you could cut out a dozen of these spoon blanks and just heat them up, and one after the other, mold one spoon right after the other. And that's why horners of the time period would make a lot of spoons, because they were really cheap and easy to make. To be efficient with our material, our cow horn, we want to lay it out, and we want to cut it to length down the middle and flatten it out. That way we can lay out our spoons and get as many as we can out of this so we don't waste any of the material. We have our pieces cut out. The next step is to flatten them. And we're going to use the oil, like we said before, to heat it up soft enough so that we can flat it. Now the oil has to be hot enough, and there's a little trick for that. And what we do is we take just a little bit of water and a stick, or the end of a wooden spoon, and get just a little bit of moisture on it and stick it in the oil, and it should bubble. If it's sizzling just a little bit, it needs to be hotter. If you can hear it popping, it's good, it's hot enough. So we're ready to dip. So you always want to use tongs. You want to get it to such a point to where you can dip it and then put it into your mold. Now you want to let it sit in there for about 20 to 30 seconds so it gets hot enough and it gets pliable. You don't want to do just a quick dip because it won't get hot enough. Drain off the oil. And we'll start just a little bit. And you'll tell right away if it's soft enough. Today we're using just vegetable oil. In the time period they would have used cod liver oil or lard or whatever kind of fatty substance that will turn to liquid when it gets hot. Okay, we're heating it up. And it's just a back and forth process. We'll heat it, flatten it a little bit, and heat it, flatten it a little bit until we get it nice and flat. So we have our flattened horn piece, and if you notice, there's no charring. On the comb video, you saw the char because we used the open flame. The oil doesn't do that, so it gives it a nice, smoother finish and less cleanup work. Our next step is to cut out the rough shape of the spoon, and it'll be just a flat spoon shape, and then we'll redip it and form it in our mold. Well, it's looking good, looking good. We just have to trim this up a little bit, make it nice and smooth. And once we get that, we're gonna put it back in the mold, dip it one more time, put it back in the mold, just to give a nice final full curve to the spoon, give it a good body. This is the first time I've ever done this, ever made a spoon or dipped it in oil, and it's going pretty good. You're getting a nice spoon shape there. All I wanna do is trim this up a little bit, make that nice and round. And we're gonna dip it and form it one more time to give it that nice final shape. Here it is, our finished spoon. Went pretty well. It's my first time ever doing anything like this. Worked with horn before, but never with the mold or the hot oil. And, it could be straightened up, but that's for the next one. The more you do things, the better you get. I really enjoy working with horn. It's a wonderful material and it looks good. If you have any suggestions of any future projects I could work on, I'd love to know. Leave it in the comments. And once again, thank you for watching.